because I was home struggling. The reason I chose the name Jerry James is because I wanted to give homage to both of my fathers. I say both because one is my biological father, his name is Jerry, and the father that raised me name is James, so therefore Jerry James. Today I'm going to be reading out of my book Silent Screams, and the chapter that I'm going to read, I chose this chapter because I wanted to read a chapter that I thought would be hard for the reader to read, but it was also one of the most hardest chapters for me to write. So I wanted to share that moment with you. It's called Keep Out. It's chapter 15. In this chapter, there are 3 characters: me, Jerry James, which is written under the name Stacy, my stepfather, James, and my cousin Frank. It starts like this. At 13th Avenue, there were 3 apartments: the ground floor, the second, and the third. My sister lived on the second. Frank moved in with my Aunt Mildred. My auntie lived 9 steps, 3, then 4 more steps above us. Mama never lived far from someone, a sister and a daughter. Always finding these houses to share. Yes, I guess it made it easier to pay the bills, but more than anything, Mama just loved being around family. The only thing that crossed my mind was at least he wasn't in the next room or in any rooms in our house. Later that month, my soul cried. Frank's rage returned. Locks, flights of steps, and new surroundings could not have saved me. At age 11, I saw myself for the first time clearly. My body was bruised and beaten and was found by no one. I lay there on the floor in the hushed silence of my bedroom, the room that sat between my brother's room and my sister Mickey's room. I could hear the sounds of his feet that 3 years ago were etched into my memory. It echoed not far from me, rising up as if to say I've died and gone to heaven. He had a happy step, a joyous sound in his swag. He had broken me and I was free. In his mind, he had conquered and destroyed the green-eyed demon that plagued his own soul. What I came to realize had only been 1 hour and 19 minutes seemed like days. As he pushed himself inside violently into a place I thought shit only came out of, every part of me slowly crept back inside. Sweaty and sex-funky, blood crept down my inner thigh. But I lay there knowingly losing my mind, cleverly planning, how will I clean up this mess? The defecation, it was thick and wet. For a moment I thought the saying, he beat the shit out of me, came to fruition. The blood, how would I clean it up quickly before Mama could see? He had never been this messy. The stench of his sweat reeked all over me. See, I could taste the salt from his brow that dripped upon my lips as he thrust himself inside of me. And I tore in more places I could remember that day. The aching pain from where he had just kicked me still lingered. My lips trembled, split by the impact of him hitting my teeth repeatedly, ushered by his fist. He punched me this time. I'll never hit you in the face, he always said. You're too beautiful to spoil. But you, bitch, have to be taught a lesson. And then he gently kissed me on the forehead. When I understood he had finished his business and no one was coming to save me, I began to crawl, even though I could barely move. I kept replaying this moment over and over in my mind. I relived it with each of his steps, wondering, how would I kill him? I had let him live and he had been hell-bent on destroying me. A smile more like a callous grin crept upon my face. From nowhere, laughter consumed me. I was happy for the first time in a long time. I take away his most precious gift, the one thing he thought he had, power over my existence. I crawled that day, but into a much darker place. Pulling my pants back up in shirt clothes, I was able to lift myself up by bracing one hand on the edge of the bed and grabbing onto the bathroom doorknob with the other. My fingers, they were still numb from clenching my fists. Having only moments to spare, I drugged my body into the adjacent bathroom. The water falling from the shower felt like soft rain mist on a hot summer day. It fell on my skin like morning dew. I'm wiping him away for the last time, I thought to myself. I'm not taking even a moment to dry off as I slip back into my shirt. I noticed the black belt hanging around the waist of my pants that held up my jeans. I would be my greatest ally, I thought. My companion, my own confidant. Pulling it out ever so slowly as to not disturb its peace, I took the belt from the pants. Only this bright black leather belt with a shiny buckle and 7 holes would understand what my last moments were like. I smiled and then I giggled. With each breath, a little more laughter crept inside of me with each passing second. I would have to profess to God, beg for forgiveness for my soul. I pleaded, God, please, please, God. I tried to hold on, but I had no help. I alone stood there while the shine of the curtain rod gleamed. Excuse me. Here I am, God, take my hand. It will help me find peace, I thought. So I whispered this to myself. It was no one to help me stop, but I begged and I pleaded with myself. I gave myself the hardest time I could, but to no avail. See, God would never forgive you, Stacey, is what I thought to myself. God will never forgive you. But I struggled with my weaker self. But the rage took over. With this determination to stand before God that would let this happen to me. See, I was angry. I was angry at God, but I was blaming myself. In the back of my mind, all of this was God's fault, or was it mine? I had to be the one to blame, never telling, never screaming, never fighting, but standing there talking to myself, screaming silently, Stacey, I curse you. You could have spoken up. How in the hell did you let this happen, God, I whispered. Why me? What the hell kind of lesson is this? I was standing to God, but not to him. Slowly I could see it loop around the pole, but the belt was not long enough. I would need another belt. I look at my brother's doing. But their blue bedroom door with the sign, keep out, led right into the bathroom. Pushing it slowly, moving ever so slightly, I crawled halfway down into the room. There it was, my brother to my companion. So I grabbed the other belt up like a thief in the night. I interlocked the two and swung it over the shower bar, one loop for me and one loop for Frank. Thank you, belt, I said. Thank you for being there when no one else was. My feet dangled off the side of the tub. It felt tighter than I imagined. I thought it would be an instant step. You know how you see on TV? Not so much luck. The air in me consumed my thoughts. Go back where you came from. Leave me alone. I refuse to gasp for you. You are what binds me to this hell breath. I rebuke you, I shouted silently. As I had done so many times before, I cried like a child, mouth wide open with no sound escaping. In the darkness, I begged for you to help. You gave me nothing. You gave me nothing but silent screams, and no one heard it. No one came to help me, not even you, not my own voice. I fought and I fought. Each breath felt like tiny little miracles. The more they rushed to escape this ungrateful vessel, the better off I felt. I don't want to be here as much as you don't want me. The bitch in me refused to stay there and suffocate with the baby girl in me. My feet and fingertips hurt the worst. They begged to shake and quiver, but I commanded them not to move. I commanded them not to grab onto anything, not to lift up, not to gain balance. I brought you into this world with me, and I'm taking you out with me. So my legs began to shake, and my heart, oh my heart, my poor heart and soul, they were the most devastated of all. How could you, my soul shook, like the fingers at the end of my mother's hand. My heart broke like the river behind my father's eyes when he would watch my mother walk away with me. But I could care less. I was going up to heaven with God, if only for a moment to curse his ass out. I could see the darkness, my last thoughts. Where was this so-called light I'm supposed to see?